Welcome to Charlie in Sotogrande, the podcast where we look at the people, the places, and the passions that make Sotorgrande this fantastic community it is. Buying a property anywhere in the world is one of the biggest things one can do. Maybe buy once or twice in your lifetime. And securing a mortgage, if you require one, is one of the most important things to do. Today, I have with me at Charlie in Sotogrande podcast, Julian Gallagher from Fluent Finance abroad, and he is going to tell us all about this wonderful thing, mortgages, and how to get the best one here along the Costa. Julian, welcome.
Thank you so much for having me, Charlie. I appreciate it. Thank you.
You're very welcome. So I'm very excited about this because it's a question that a lot of people ask me is where do I go get a mortgage? How do I best do it? Only yesterday, someone said, look, I'm going to wait 2 years before some money comes out for my pension. Mm-hmm. I'm 65 years old. Can I borrow some money? Mm-hmm. So there are all sorts of questions that go on. Yeah. But before we get into that, let me start with a question I ask everybody that comes onto the podcast. How would you introduce yourself to someone who has never met you?
Okay. I would introduce myself as what I am, which is a mortgage broker, an intermediary. Yep. That's what I do for a living. But who I am really, I'm a family man. I'm a hard-working man that is well-travelled, thankfully. And I have a good life experience. But genuinely, I'm just a good, honest chap.
A good, honest chap. Yeah. Absolutely. That's good. Sounds very good. Where are you from originally? You have an accent.
I do. It's strange you might pick up on that, yes. I'm from Halifax. That's without a H usually, Halifax.
Yeah. Halifax.
Yeah, I'm from Halifax in north of England, not Nova Scotia, West Yorkshire.
How did a man from Halifax who speaks Portuguese with a Polish wife end up in Sotorgrande?
Yeah, it's a good question. A lot of the people who live here ask me the very same question, but it's been a long journey. I worked in a bank in Halifax, HBOS, and they were bought out by Lloyds International. Lloyds Bank in the UK, and big institutions, they knew that I spoke Portuguese as a language, and they knew that they had Lloyds in Spain and Lloyds International, Portuguese, Spanish, that'll do. And they packed me off to Gibraltar to work as the European Business Development Manager for international and private banking. And I just learned the Spanish I needed along the way, really, but that took me all across Europe. And moreover, sort of settled me in this region because at that time, and you'll remember it better than me, Sotorgrande was not in its infancy, but it had a period where it was, it's had a second coming since then. And it was just like an amazing opportunity waiting to happen. So we've always kept an eye on it.
Okay.
Yeah.
It's a small world. My father worked for Lloyds Bank, and he was in South America before we came to live in Britain, and he became a bank inspector. So he would go off to Singapore, he would go off to, all sorts of places to do, and he told me he used to literally arrive at 5 to 3, knock on the door and says, give me the books. That's how inspectors work. I just wonder if you ever came to Gibraltar. Maybe your careers didn't cross over.
Our careers didn't cross over, but I would have liked it if it had had. Having said that, with international private banking, which used to be known as offshore, we're no strangers to knocks on the door for somebody who wants to look at the books. Everything has to be done correctly and so forth. Nowadays, it's like KPMG who does an audit or Deloitte or something like that. But I mean, your dad's experience will have been different but similar to mine. What we'll have in common is it makes us more worldly.
Yes, absolutely.
There's an international community of people, which we can all be part of because we've travelled, I think.
Do you have a pension from Lloyds?
I do, yeah.
So do you go to the annual pension meetings? Because that you might bump into my dad. He's 93 now.
Wow.
So he stopped a while ago.
Wow.
But he still keeps in touch with his. He's probably one of the last ones left. So like war veterans. You know, the one or
Wow.
two left only.
So he must have been one of the founders at Lloyds in Gibraltar, I would have
No,
suggested.
no, no, he never went to Lloyds Gibraltar. He was an inspector, all
Oh,
right,
sorry,
and he
sorry.
would be sent to different countries
Oh, I
from
follow you.
Victoria Street
Ah,
to
yes.
inspect banks,
I see. I
with,
see.
I mean, a self-inspection, I
Yeah,
suppose you call
yeah,
it. Yeah.
yeah, yes, of course, because
So,
they need to
yeah,
self-regulate those banks down there.
yeah,
No, I never came across him, but
yeah.
I
All
would
right.
have definitely liked to have done.
So, how did you come to work for Fluent Finance? Because that was after Lloyd's,
Mm,
presumably, yeah?
yeah. So, traveling around Europe as a development manager, you make relationships with all different types of companies, businesses, and so forth. But because you're working for a large multinational bank, it's a good deal of responsibility, and you need to make sure that you're working with the right people.
Hmm.
You are diligent, making sure you're doing your due diligence on the companies and people that act as your introducers for clients.
Right.
And that can be a very mixed bag because it's a mixed world. You
Yeah.
know, there's all different types of businesses and companies. And one thing that struck me about Fluent Finance abroad when I met the owner, Mark Elliott de Lama, was his ethical approach was aligned with my own. He had UK standards for compliance in place in Spain when there was no requirement for it.
Right.
And he was the straightest arrow that I could see. So when I left banking and I wanted to go into something else, it it stood out to me. And actually, I must have had the same experience with him because I was in England at the time, and he flew into England on a different purpose. And he said, "You remember Sotogrande?" He said, "I've always had that place in mind, and I know you have too. Will you come and open an office with me?" And I was, well,
Mm.
yeah, you're one of the few people
Yeah.
I would do
Right.
that with.
Okay.
So that's why.
Yeah. No, I know Mark. Yeah, well, that's how we met originally, because I remember we were in this office and you came in, and you know, the thing that I remember very strongly was that neither of us asked each other for commissions. You
Yeah,
know,
that was a
because
thing of beauty.
yeah,
You don't see that every day.
and I refuse to do that. You know,
Yeah,
I'm a butcher, and you're a candlestick
yeah,
maker, and
yeah,
you know. But here I found that, you know, anybody doing anything with anyone
yeah,
meant, you know, a little brown envelope, and
yeah.
I just said no. It's
It's
just
you're one of the few that
yeah,
hasn't, and I'm glad because you've ended up as very close friends. But Mark, in days gone by, had very short tolerance, let's say,
yeah,
for that kind of behaviour,
yeah,
and he's never and will never work
no,
with someone who's looking for anything other than to work for their clients. There's
yeah.
no
I mean, it's
remuneration
absolutely,
involved. You
yeah,
stay in your lane, we'll
yeah,
stay in ours
exactly,
for the mutual benefit of the client. So he'd rather turn away business than take
yeah,
on that kind of thing. I know
no,
you're the same.
cool,
Goes without
cool.
saying.
Um, so Sotorgrande is unique. What do
Mm.
you would say makes it unique? We all have different views, I suppose, but
Mm.
what would you say makes Sotorgrande so different, maybe, to other parts of the Costa?
Well, I think that first of all, well, it's a lot of S's, isn't it?
Yeah.
It's serene,
Yes.
first of all. It's sophisticated,
Yeah.
secure, safe, to name but a few more. But I think it's a place where silent or discreet success lives.
Yeah.
That's what it represents to me.
Yeah.
And I like it and I respect it for that. I'm not saying I'm part of it. I work for it.
Mhm.
I work within it.
Yeah.
But that's why I respect. It's got dignity.
Yeah.
This place.
No, that's very true. I mean, I like the S's. I mean, I use the serene, security, sophisticated.
Yeah,
I love that.
it's true.
Yeah, it is. No, it is.
It's not just a buzzword or um, it's a community. It's a thing in of itself.
Yeah.
And I think that's a wonderful thing to be around and be part of because it's not always the case. You
Yeah.
know, there's different types of wealth in the world.
Yeah.
There's different types of common person in
Yeah.
the world as well.
Yeah.
And they tend to group together and form communities.
Yeah.
And this is one of them. It's a
Mm.
wonderful enclave for any family that needs and feels and also can achieve it.
Yeah, I feel that since I've been here, that there are successful people and unsuccessful people. and those that have always had money from family and that sort of thing, but others that have made it themselves. And those can be slightly different, but at the end of the day, both the honest ones realize that, you know, they need people around them. They need a relationship. They need a community, and that is so important. That's what I find. The community in Sotorgrande is exceptional in that sense. You know, you don't have people. You do have the odd show off, but it's generally speaking frowned upon. You know, and people don't want that. You know, it's not something that feel comfortable with. And
I've said it before. Speed bumps are big for a reason. You need a Range Rover to get over one. You're not going to get over it in your Lambo.
In a Ferrari. That's absolutely true. Alrighty. Moving on to the nitty gritty of what you do.
Yes.
What are the main advantages, would you say, for someone working with a mortgage broker instead of dealing directly with, say, a bank? You know, what would be the you know, 1, 2, or 3 top advantages?
First of all, you can go to all banks at once. If they're actively lending by coming through an intermediary, you're going to all active lenders in unison, rather than dropping your documents off at one place, finding out that you're not a good fit for them, etc., and moving on and going through the same process and rigmarole. It's time. Wealthy or anybody, actually, my time is worth a certain amount of value. Most people who are buying in this area, and Costa del Sol in general, their time is more precious to them than paying for the service of intermediation. Plus, I would go on to say that it's about communication. If you know who you are and what you represent, but if you can't communicate that to a Spanish bank or a Spanish lender, you're snookered. You're on the losing track from day one. So it's a time-saving exercise, and I'm a one-trick pony. The company's a one-trick pony. Do you really think, after 20 years of experience, that we're not going to achieve the best? If there's a pothole to fall in, we fell in it long ago. If there's a way to get better rates, terms and conditions, there's no one. Banks are not our friends. If you're walking off the high street, I worked there. I'm going to get the off-the-shelf model for you,
of course,
which suits the bank. So you've got to turn the tables on that. You're the consumer. Be careful what you consume from these lenders. You know. So that's. I don't want to go.
No, I understand.
You get the picture.
So time, communication, and the expert advice that you can give them by you know, having done it with everybody and seen every trick, so you can offer that.
You want optimal lending at the best price for you. They want optimal lending for the best price for them.
Okay.
And I'm a Yorkshireman, and that's not
happening. Okay, so mortgage brokers can secure a better deal,
for sure,
than knocking on the door. You're not wasting all your leather on the shoes, and you can, it's a one stop, and then you can then do everything else for everybody else.
Absolutely.
What are the common pitfalls that people would fall into if they don't use a broker?
We'll start with number 2, because number 1 we've already covered. Going into a branch and expecting that a branch member that deals with everything from current accounts through to life insurance, sales, and blah 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 is going to be a mortgage specialist is number 1. Common pitfalls are not getting your finance choices sorted out in advance of going and visiting properties, and understanding. It doesn't matter if you're a cash buyer, if you've got enough cash in the bank to buy your property, all well and good, but is that the right choice for you? First, look at that. And also, if you've got your agreement in principle for whatever type of lending that you're going to have, when they come to you, they're ready to buy, and they know exactly whether it's going to be cash or whether it's more advantageous for them to use some form of leverage from a bank, and they're ready to shake hands with a vendor, which means that the vendor doesn't have to stage the property 50 times. You don't have to take people around.
That is so true, Julian. I mean, I have an example of somebody a couple of years ago now whom I they come in here, you build a relationship, and I expected this person, because of the way he spoke, would understand. I won't say finance, but he understand the process. And we were looking at a certain price level. And when he put in an offer, he said, well, I can do that cash. Why do it cash? There may be better things you can do with the cash, number one. Two, what that price that you just negotiated, or I just negotiated for you, is the asking price. But then there are taxes, which oh really? Yes. There are community fees. There's a maintenance thing. You're living in Spain or Sotogrande, and guess what? We all have a swimming pool, maybe, or we all have a garden, and you can do the gardening while you're not here for 6 months and traveling around.
Absolutely.
So all those costs, so it's having someone who's pre-qualified, understands what they can afford, and understand what the cost is critical to a successful sale.
I would agree with you wholeheartedly, and I think it's worth to add, because it's quite unique to Spain, I think, that your only chance to raise money on a property acquisition really is on the purchase. There's no equity release. If you decide that this is the perfect property for you, but you'd like it redecorated, redesigned this way, it's very difficult to go back to a bank and then ask for money at that point. So if you've used all of your cash already, then now what? You might decide that you want to extend or something. Well, in those circumstances, banks can be a bit more flexible, but even then, it's very, very difficult. Your best and first opportunity to raise finance, and I hasten to add, 2.85 fixed for 20 years is good money for anybody.
2.85
fixed for 20 years, 1.65 million. That's what we achieved 2 days ago.
With Cajamarca.
I'm not telling you. And furthermore, that is also was available for that individual at 2% first year, followed by the further 19 years at 0.80% above the 12-month Euribor. If you can't outrun that as a wealthy person through your business activities, I don't know what's wrong.
No, absolutely.
I mean, inflation will take you out of that kind of interest rate. But
absolutely.
So there's another good reason. Pitfalls are not using people like you who are expertise in their area, people that are specialists, not generalists. I think that is just
clearly. In terms of mortgage brokers, you simplify the process for buyers, because many people come in here and as I said right at the beginning, that people buy a home maybe once, twice, 3 times in their lifetime. Most people, many, not even that, and it's a complicated process if it's not something you do on a regular basis. So simplifying that is so important for buyers. How do you do that? Do you have like a checklist? Because you go in and you have and you can talk and talk and talk, and if you're not taking notes,
I'm glad you asked.
How do you do that? Because it's important that you come out feeling good.
Well, that's the thing. It should be a journey. The whole buying process should be an enjoyable journey. It's one of the largest acquisitions you're going to do in your life, unless you're going to buy a boat, of course. But it will be, and it's going to be a family home most likely, or a second holiday residence. So it's a huge thing. How do you make that? Well, first of all, you absorb all of the work and all of the pressure. Right? At 25, I'm not doing as well as I. So you've got to take that away. Take the strain of the process, the aggravation, the nuisance, and what Fluent Finance Abroad has done, which takes it to the next level for me. They first of all had all the regulatory processes in place before they ever needed. They're fully qualified as a company to intermediate, approved by Bank of Spain. individually, we were all qualified in 2 countries, myself in the UK and in Spain. So these are important things. But not only that, Mark's embraced technology. So he's using AI to streamline processes that were already instilled. He's using AI to assist us with any repetitive work procedures, which expedite everything, right up to the risk levels of the banks. So when we present a mortgage case, it is absolutely gilt-edged, tied up in a ribbon, and just hopefully ready to approve.
Right.
Now, even human advisors can't do it that well, and we're already using AI a lot.
Are these special programs you have? Or,
Yeah,
so
absolutely.
You can buy them off the peg, and like you can buy a CRM or a.
So CRM's okay, and it'll take you so far, but you can have an AI built in to a CRM and a bespoke CRM built. You can train AI to specifically work in your function. At the end of the day, they're going to replace me anyway, Charlie. So I might as well.
When are you going to play more football and go on a boat, you know?
Do you know why they won't be able to replace me?
Where's that?
In the high net worth category, because you know your Commodore Garden mortgage is going to be eaten up very quickly by technology. Where nuance exists, AI fails. It needs a human PA to assist along the way. And wealthy people don't accept bots. They want to deal with people, relationships, the applications are nuanced and so forth. But for the regular, you can streamline it, you can make it easier, because you're an intermediary, sit between 2 people, so you want it easier for the bank as well. So it just makes it all just nice, tidy, streamlined, and it can't be more streamlined because it's been checked by AI.
As an aside, you said wealthy people, high net worth individuals don't accept bots, chat bots.
For now.
I had to take mine off.
Really?
Yeah, because the people that are coming on were either some bored guy in Africa who was saying, you know, I'm in the Cameroons, can you give me? I said,
absolutely,
a waste of time.
Completely.
And the real people come in through the contact box, and they come through. I mean, now and again you have someone that was genuine, but bots really not yet.
They don't work. I agree with you there. But what I'm referring to is a PA for yourself. You can. So at the moment we've got a back office team and a front office team, and then you can literally train a bot to assist you with your duties, which is where it does add value.
I'm sure you can help with legal compliance issues. Is that something you get involved with?
No. We stay in our lane. So a lawyer is perfectly qualified to deal with conveyancing on a property purchase, and they should be left to do so. We liaise with the lawyers, the chosen lawyers, but we represent
I understand. I mean, I don't think the question was, are you a lawyer, therefore you're going to help with legal compliance? But the legal compliance, not of buying a property, but of the getting the mortgage and all of that.
So we have an internal law firm, lawyers which work with inside our offices that are available on hand to deal with anything that we require from a legal perspective. Beyond that, with a regulator, the Bank of Spain, and the usual, every financial services company has got robust measures to make sure that everything from a legal perspective is done correctly. But there's so many tiers to deal with on a legal. You've got consumer law, so the conveyancing, then you've got the bank's legal due diligence that needs to be done.
KYC.
So in a way, our back office team are just acting as like a safety net between those things. So I'll give you a small example. You may or may not agree with it, but it really articulates things well for customers. You can have a lawyer that's checking everything from a legal perspective as part of the property purchase. And you could say, for instance, have a property with a certain amount of square meters and so forth, and all of those square meters that are listed on the registers as legal. And on the bank side of things, those square meters are sufficient to enable them to lend using it as collateral. However, there's a grey area where there might be a discrepancy on the actual registers to the property that mean you're barbecuing in next door's garden. So if that or something similar became apparent to us, we then assume the customer's position. Yes, it's completely legal, but perhaps if it was me, you'd like to be made aware of it. So we'll lift that off the page. It's the best way I can sort of describe that.
No, well, that's helpful as well, because you don't want to go to the notary and let the notary decide that the barbecue doesn't belong to you, it's next door, because you've done all that work and wasted all that time.
I mean, it's rare. The lawyers are amazing, the banks are amazing, but sometimes perhaps they don't take into account the expectations of an international buyer, perhaps.
Yeah.
So,
what is the standard of English with bankers here? Do you have to hold hands in terms of language?
Well, there's no chance understanding me, have they? So, no.
No, what I'm saying is, what I'm getting at is, do you help with translation? You help with all of that, presumably, either yourself or
language is more than words. It's a culture. It's an expectation as well. So I wouldn't try to give an example. I wouldn't try to negotiate the finer points of a bespoke mortgage offer for a customer personally with a Spanish bank, because there'll always be something lost in translation. So we bridge the gap. All of our back office are native Spanish speakers. Mark's bilingual like you, so he's got both sides off to pat in terms of English to Spanish at least. So what happens is that as part of that communication, before anything gets done, it's absolutely bridged that gap between us and our own colleagues, and then articulated in the way that it would be expected, not just words, into Spanish, into a Spanish banking culture. It's different. It's subtle, but it's definitely different.
I get it. I mean, I say I lived in many different countries, and wherever you go, there are different things. I mean, I was living in Saudi, and there are two yeses. Yes, I'm hearing you, or yes, I agree with you. So they could be saying yes, and you say, "Oh, yeah, it's true." And how did the negotiation go?
Goodness.
Brilliant. You're saying yes to everything. Yeah.
Wow.
All he would tell he was listening to you.
Wow.
And he would say yes. Oh, yeah, of course. Yeah.
My goodness.
Yeah. But he's not agreeing with you.
That's a perfect example.
It's so it's dramatic.
Wow.
But it's true. Let me see. When a lender is looking at a potential person, what are the things they look at? I mean, how do they judge the ability of someone to be able to pay the mortgage back? What are the requirements?
There's a couple of different ways, unfortunately. So, for standard high street lending, they're going to use matrices, literal rules that are passed down for risk and checkboxes and tolerances and so forth, all built into a spreadsheet. And if you don't fit inside that nice, neat metric of what a perfect borrower, you're pretty much snookered already. So knowing your counterpart is important. So we use the same sort of calculations as the collective banks use, so we can aggregate that into one understanding. For higher net worth borrowing, it's all bespoke. So they take a view of even at committee level in some cases. Risk committee might meet to approve a mortgage. They might need to meet twice in order to do that. The risk department and the underwriters is a different level again, and then you've got below that you've got your sort of branch level sign-offs and goodness knows what. So you've got to know who you're dealing with and how to present it. They're looking for the perfect borrower, right?
Of course.
Which doesn't exist. There'll always be something that's not quite the way they want it to be. They are looking not at the overall net worth of a person and the capacity to service the loan. They're looking at their income versus their debt outgoings. So I'll frame it in a nutshell, I promise. I know So if you've got 3,000 a month coming in,
Yeah.
but you have 1,000 going out,
Yeah.
do you think that you can lend that person safely 1,000 towards a mortgage? It's going to be difficult because it's already got 1,000 in outgoings,
Mm-hmm.
and on the other side, only 3,000 in income. If you level that up with a zero or two, so you've got 30,000, which is coming in per month net of tax, and you've only got 10,000 going out every
Mm-hmm.
single month, the headroom is quite different.
Yeah.
And that can't be understood by a spreadsheet.
Mm.
Once all you spend everything that you need on a monthly
Yeah.
basis,
You can only
if you
have so many dinners, so many lunches. Yeah.
Richard Branson,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
One house,
Yeah.
one
Yeah.
car at a
Yeah.
time, 3 dinners a day.
Yeah.
After that, it's pretty much done like
Yeah.
everybody else. So, you've got
You
that.
forgot the
That's
expensive white flow.
is that Amazon going off in my pocket? I think it probably is. So that in itself is a bridge that you've got to
Yeah.
cross in order to get. They're looking
Yeah.
for the perfect score every single
Yeah.
time. Somebody who's not going to default, and these are the reasons why. Risk committees are really, they're brilliant. They're fantastic. They're textile. They're able to negotiate that. But so yeah, that's what they're looking for.
Okay. We're now March 2025.
Yes.
Mr. Trump is starting trade wars.
Mhm.
The U.S. stock exchange seems to be on the southerly direction.
Yeah.
What would someone looking to get a mortgage today, has that affected the situation yet?
Well, it's been extremely good for business for us. We have a lot of Americans coming across
Yeah, of
looking,
course.
for
Yeah.
example, for properties and so
Yeah.
forth. Of course, it has. It's a different asset class, isn't it? First of all,
Mm-hmm.
you're dealing daily. I don't deal with
Yeah.
it daily, but you're dealing with trophy assets, which happen to be
Yeah.
family homes, and they're physical assets, they're bricks and mortar.
Yeah.
They've got geographical significance. They're not in. I mean, look at the Spain. I mean, just in general, how is our economy doing?
Yeah.
Second to none in Europe.
Yeah.
So, for many different reasons, it has an impact. But what has happened with the base rate, the 12-month Euribor, is that it's actually decreasing, and it's having a positive effect on the rates that we're able to achieve whilst people are migrating.
Yeah.
Now, you don't have enough stock,
I
unfortunately,
know.
for all these people.
Yeah.
So then that has an effect on the premium of the asset you're trying to acquire, the property that's going up.
Mm-hmm.
So, yeah, it's an ever-changing environment, but I think the market's just amazing at the moment. If the more properties that are more available, the more they're going to be acquired. My phone rings from all around the world. It's not just one. Just anywhere but where you are seems better just right now for whatever reason.
Yeah.
And that means Polish investors. I'm going to steer away from that a little bit because what's going on in Ukraine just is a bit of a disaster from all. But it does affect Ukrainians as well. They're coming here. Russians also, and not happy with the whole situation, and they want to move from the Far East, Australia. We get inquiries from everywhere. Britain in particular, and
I got this theory that this is the Costa del Sol is like California of Europe.
Yeah,
it's more and more and more people will want to be obviously in the sun, as far away as from any potential issues that can carry on in northern Eastern Europe, particularly, and have a reasonably good investment. Because it's not something that, because it comes slowly, it's not going to go away overnight. It's not that sort of thing. And we're seeing it with construction. We're seeing cranes going on. The demand is there, and as you said, the supply is just not quite what it should be in certain sectors. And not everybody can afford a 9-10 million villa.
No,
but between 800,000 and 2 million, there's not enough.
Yeah,
And
exactly.
They really don't have enough here. and that's an issue.
And it's a real sweet spot as well for a lot of people that
Yeah.
that sort of
Yeah.
budget for
Yeah.
your successful person. It would be nice if there were more of those properties.
Yeah, I'm sure they would. We would all like them. Okay, Julian, those are really good insights. Just before we go, could you summarize and give us maybe the top 3 tips you would give someone looking for a mortgage to buy property here in Sotogrande?
Yeah. First thing, consider it. For reasons we've already discussed,
Yeah.
cash is not always your best option. Consider it.
So consider a mortgage.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Start early.
Mhm.
So you can be mortgage approved agreement in principle in advance before you even get on an aeroplane.
Yeah.
I think you can do the whole purchase without setting foot
true.
in the country
Yeah.
these days. But
Yeah.
to have an agreement in principle in place puts you in a prime position in any negotiation, because you're shaking hands and you're 3 weeks, 4 weeks away from the notary. That's a good feeling, isn't it? So start early, get your agreement in principle in place, give your financial intermediary time to refine the best option for you, optimal lending for you. What would the other thing be? Consider using a specialist for that duty, because is it really the best use of your own time? I doubt it. I really doubt it. I do it daily. It's not it wouldn't be what I'd be doing if I had a choice. So why would anyone else
enough
want to?
time?
They're in.
People come in on holiday for 2 weeks, but they come for a property tour for 3 days.
Yeah.
And by the time they've gone to one bank and another, they haven't got any answers anyway.
No, absolutely not.
But they can leave a brief with you, and then you communicating in their language, and so it's
I don't think that you can't do it. I mean, the collective view, of course you can do it, but do you really want to? Is it going to be the optimal product when you have? I don't think so, and I've seen plenty of evidence of that as well. So yeah, pass it on. And the other thing is that uniquely, we're not here just to raise finance. Fluent Finance Abroad help to case manage everything up until keys are in hand. So all the running around and talking to the, say for instance, valuers, the banks themselves, the lawyers involved, the real estate agents, getting the valuation done, the day at the notary sorting out, the guys and girls in the back office, they're on the phone organising all that for you. So it's a value add. There's a value added service beyond finance, and we've got your best interests at heart. We're representing you. We are your financial intermediary. So that'd be it, really.
Yeah, cool. Julian, thank you very much. And on behalf of the community of Sotorgrande, thank you for being here. Thank you for being part of the community. And, people will come to you, I'm sure, as they have been doing more and more, because you are very helpful and in a very critical part of anyone's journey in terms of buying a property. It's, very, very important.
Well,
so thank you very much.
Thank you for representing Sotogrande in the way that you do, and for allowing us as people who work here, businesses, to lift themselves off the page a little bit as well. That's very kind of you.
Thank you. And one last thing, if anybody wants to get hold of you, how do they do that?
The easiest way is to use my mobile number. They're going to want me on the quick draw, so that
it'll be on the
yeah, exactly. Okay. Failing that, you can go through the website. The email address is there. My profile, the company. You don't have to work with me. You can work with someone else in the company if you like, if you prefer them. So,
Julian, thank you.